The council chamber on Harmony Prime Station floated in neutral space, far from any star system. Inside, representatives from dozens of alien species sat in their designated sections. The air processors worked constantly to maintain the different atmospheres each species needed to breathe. Ambassador Victoria Grant stood alone in the center speaking area. She was the only human in the massive chamber. Around her, thousands of alien eyes watched with barely hidden contempt. The Keltharians, tall insect-like beings with 4 arms and chitinous armor, dominated the upper sections. Below them sat the Dracs, heavy reptilian creatures whose scales gleamed under the station lights. The crystalline Vorians reflected light in strange patterns, while the aquatic Selkine observed from their water-filled viewing spheres. High Admiral Zareth of the Keltharian Empire rose from his seat. His mandibles clicked together as he spoke, the translation device rendering his words in cold, mechanical tones. Human Ambassador, the Keltharian Empire has been patient. Your species has occupied 17 worlds in what we consider our territorial expansion zone. We have tolerated this intrusion for 30 of your years. That tolerance ends today. Victoria remained still, her face calm. She had expected this. Zareth continued. You have 30 of your days to evacuate all colonies and surrender them to Keltharian authority. Furthermore, Earth itself will accept Keltharian governance and join our empire as a subordinate world. These terms are not negotiable. Murmurs of approval rippled through the council chamber. The Drax senator, a massive creature named Cross, growled his support. The Keltharians are being generous. If it were Drax space, we would have already taken what we wanted. A Vorian observer chimed in, its crystalline voice like wind through glass. The humans are a young species. They lack the strength to refuse. Acceptance is their only logical choice. Victoria waited for the chamber to quiet. Then she spoke clearly. I will take your ultimatum to my government. We will provide our response within 7 days. Zareth's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. 7 days to accept the inevitable. Very well, human. We await your surrender. The journey back to Earth took 4 days through the jump gates. Victoria spent the time reviewing intelligence reports. The numbers were not encouraging. The Keltharian Empire had over 5,000 warships. Their allies could provide thousands more. Earth's defense fleet numbered barely 400 vessels, spread across all their colonies. When she arrived at Earth, Victoria went directly to the command center beneath the city of New Geneva. President Kyle Morrison was waiting, along with Defense Minister Nicole Hayes and Commander Jake Stevens of the Earth Defense Force. The command center was a vast underground facility. Holographic displays showed the positions of every human ship and colony. Red markers indicated known Keltharian fleet positions. There were so many red markers. Tell us, President Morrison said. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. The weight of leadership showed in every line of his face. Victoria delivered the ultimatum word for word. When she finished, silence filled the room. Nicole Hayes spoke first. They're not bluffing. Our intelligence shows they're already moving fleets into position. If we refuse, they'll attack within weeks. We're outnumbered 50-1, one of the military advisors said. Our technology is comparable, but numbers matter. We can't win a straight fight. Commander Jake Stevens had been quiet until now. He was younger than the others, in his mid-30s, with sharp features and calculating eyes. We don't need to win a straight fight, he said. President Morrison looked at him. Explain. Jake activated a different set of displays. For the past 15 years, we've been developing something. Project Lighthouse. It's been kept secret from everyone, including most of our own government. Only essential personnel knew. The holographic display showed strange installations on distant asteroids and moons throughout human space. They looked like massive antenna arrays, but the energy readings were unlike anything conventional. "What am I looking at?" Victoria asked. "Quantum field generators," Jake said. 200 of them, positioned throughout all of human territory. They can create displacement fields that push matter into pocket dimensions. Anything caught in the field gets trapped in a quantum void. No way out without the exact coordinates to reverse the process. Nicole Hayes stared at the displays. "How large can these fields get?" "We've tested them at ranges up to half a light year. The network can create overlapping fields that cover all approaches to our worlds. Any fleet trying to attack would simply vanish." "Why wasn't I informed of this?" President Morrison's voice was sharp. "Security, sir. If word leaked, our enemies would develop countermeasures before we finished the network. The final installation went active 3 months ago. We're fully operational now." Victoria felt a chill. "You're suggesting we go to war with the Keltharian Empire?" "I'm suggesting we defend ourselves," Jake corrected. "But first, we give them a warning, a real one. If they ignore it, that's their choice." The debate lasted for hours. Some argued for accepting the ultimatum and hoping for mercy. Others wanted to activate Lighthouse immediately and strike first. In the end, President Morrison made the decision. "We warn them. One chance. If they attack, we defend ourselves." 3 days later, Victoria returned to Harmony Prime. The council chamber filled again, eager to hear Earth's surrender. Victoria stood in the speaking area and delivered Earth's response. "The people of Earth decline your ultimatum. We claim the right to exist as a free and independent species. We will not surrender our colonies, and we will not submit to foreign rule." The chamber erupted. Zareth rose to his full height, his 4 arms spread wide. "You dare refuse? You are barely more than primitives playing at civilization?" Victoria raised her voice over the noise. "We are also here to issue a warning of our own. Do not send your fleets to human space. Do not attack our worlds. This is your only warning. Please take it seriously." The laughter started with the Keltharians and spread throughout the chamber. Zareth's mandibles clicked rapidly. "A warning from you? Your entire species could not stop even one of our fleets. We will come, human, and we will take what should have been ours from the beginning." The Drax Senator Cross slammed his massive fist against his seat. "The Drax Empire supports Keltharian action. We will contribute our own ships to ensure swift victory." The Vorian observer spoke, its voice cutting through the noise. "This confidence seems unusual for a species facing extinction. Perhaps they know something we do not." But no one was listening to the Vorians. The council had decided. War was coming. Victoria left the chamber with dignity intact. She sent one message back to Earth. They refused to listen. Within days, the Keltharian Empire began assembling the largest armada in galactic history. 5,000 warships gathered at staging points along the border of human space. Allied species contributed another 2,000 vessels. Zareth took personal command, moving his flag to the massive dreadnought Conquest, a ship 3 kilometers long. On Earth, Jake Stevens activated Protocol Lighthouse. Across human space, 200 installations powered up. Strange quantum energies built in the fabric of space itself, invisible to normal sensors but ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Commander Lisa Park, stationed at Lighthouse 7 on a remote asteroid, watched her displays as the alien fleet movements became clear. "They're really coming," she said to her small crew. "Let them come," her second-in-command replied. "We warned them." Victoria sent one final message to the Galactic Council. It was encrypted and brief. "We warned you. What happens next is your choice, not ours." The message was ignored. High Admiral Zareth addressed his officers from the Bridge of Conquest. 1,200 warships surrounded his flagship, their weapons armed and shields raised. This was the first strike fleet, chosen to attack the human colony of New Pittsburgh. "Today we begin the final lesson for humanity," Zareth announced. His voice carried through every ship in the fleet. They had the chance to submit peacefully. They chose defiance. Now they will learn what defiance costs. The fleet entered hyperspace together, their jump drives creating a brilliant flash of light that faded quickly. According to the navigation computers, they would reach New Pittsburgh in 6 days. The colony had only basic defenses. The battle would last minutes at most. On the second day of transit, the fleet maintained perfect formation. Zareth reviewed the battle plans with satisfaction. After New Pittsburgh fell, 2 more fleets would strike other colonies. Humanity would be overwhelmed from multiple directions. The third day passed normally. The fleet was scheduled to send a status update every 12 hours. The update came through on time, reporting all systems normal. Then came the 4th day. The scheduled update did not arrive. At Keltharian High Command, communications officers tried to raise the fleet. They sent messages on every frequency. Emergency protocols were activated. Backup channels opened. Nothing. Complete silence. On the 5th day, panic began to set in. High Command sent fast courier ships to the fleet's projected position. The couriers jumped to hyperspace and raced along the same route Zareth's fleet had taken. They found nothing. Empty space, no debris, no energy signatures, no signs of battle or malfunction. Just emptiness where 1,200 warships should have been. The courier captain sent an urgent message back to High Command. "Fleet position negative. Repeat, no contact. Space is completely clear. No signs of engagement, no wreckage. It is as if they were never here." The Keltharian Emperor convened an emergency meeting. His military advisors stood before him, confusion clear on their features. "Explain this," the Emperor demanded. "We cannot, Majesty," the chief military advisor said. "There is no precedent. An entire fleet does not simply vanish. Could the humans have destroyed them? Impossible, Majesty. The humans lack the firepower to destroy even 100 ships, much less 1,200. And there would be debris, energy residue, something. There is nothing at all." At Harmony Prime Station, the Galactic Council held its own emergency session. Ambassador Victoria sat in the human section, her face carefully neutral. The Vorian observer addressed her directly. "Ambassador Grant, what do you know of this disappearance?" "Nothing beyond what you know," Victoria replied calmly. "A Keltharian fleet is missing. That is unfortunate." "Unfortunate?" Zareth's replacement commander, Admiral Keth, spoke with barely controlled rage. 1,200 ships and 70,000 personnel are gone. Your species issued threats before this happened. You know something." Victoria met his gaze steadily. "We issued a warning. We advised against sending fleets into our space. That warning still stands." "You claim humanity destroyed our fleet?" "I claim nothing. I simply remind you that we warned you. Whatever happened, it happened because you ignored that warning." Cross, the Drax senator, growled from his seat. "Empty words. The humans could not destroy a single dreadnought, much less an entire fleet. This is some kind of navigational anomaly, a cosmic event." The Vorian observer remained silent, but its crystalline structure pulsed with thoughtful light patterns. Back on Earth, President Morrison met with Jake Stevens in the Secure Command Center. "The First Fleet?" Morrison asked. "Displaced successfully," Jake confirmed. "All 1,200 ships are in Quantum Pocket 7. The crews are alive and unharmed. They're just trapped in a space where normal physics barely function. Their engines won't work. Their jump drives can't activate. They're stuck." "And they can't send messages?" "Nothing gets in or out of a quantum pocket except through our specific coordinates. To them, they're in a normal space, stars still visible, though distorted. But they can't navigate, can't communicate, can't leave." Nicole Hayes studied the displays showing the lighthouse network. The Keltharians are calling it an anomaly. Let them, Jake said. The longer they think it was natural, the more ships they'll send. President Morrison looked troubled. You sound eager for that. I'm eager to end this without firing a shot. Every ship that tries to attack us gets displaced instead of destroyed. No one dies. But they learn they can't touch us. Victoria's voice came through the secure communication channel from Harmony Prime. The Council is debating. Admiral Keth wants to send another fleet. The Vorians are urging caution, but no one is listening to them. 2 days later, Admiral Keth convinced the Keltharian Emperor to authorize a second strike fleet. 800 Keltharian ships would take a different route to human space. The Drax Empire contributed 300 of their own vessels, making the fleet 1,100 strong. We will take a completely different path, Keth announced. If there was some kind of spatial anomaly on the first route, we will avoid it. And this fleet carries the most advanced sensor equipment in the Empire. If anything threatens us, we will detect it long before it becomes dangerous. The second fleet launched with great ceremony. The Emperor himself watched from his palace on the Keltharian homeworld. This time, they would succeed. This time, there would be no mysteries. The fleet jumped to hyperspace, their sensors active and scanning constantly. Commander Lisa Park watched from Lighthouse 7. Her screens showed the approaching fleet clearly. Their route was different, but it still brought them into the displacement network's range. Contact in 6 hours, her second-in-command reported. Confirmed. Prepare Sequence 4. Let them get nice and deep into our space before we activate. The Keltharian fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of human territory. Admiral Keth ordered a full sensor sweep. Anything unusual? He asked his science officer. Negative, Admiral. Space appears normal. No anomalies detected. Then we proceed. All ships, advance formation. Stay alert. The fleet moved forward, 1,100 ships in perfect military formation. Their sensors swept the space ahead constantly. At Lighthouse Command on Earth, Jake Stevens watched the fleet's progress. They're in the grid now. Anytime you're ready, Commander Park. Lisa's fingers moved across her controls. Activating Lighthouse Stations 3, 7, 14, and 21. Field deployment in 3, 2, 1. The quantum displacement field activated in complete silence. No light, no sound, no dramatic effects. One moment, 1,100 warships were advancing through space. The next moment, they were gone. Admiral Keth had one instant to see his instruments go haywire. Then everything changed. The stars twisted into strange shapes. His ship was still there, his crew still at their stations, but the space outside looked wrong somehow, distorted, like looking through warped glass. What happened? He demanded. Report. Sir, all ships report the same phenomenon. We appear to be in normal space, but navigation is impossible. Sensors are reading contradictory data. Jump drives will not initialize. Communications? Unable to establish contact with High Command, unable to contact any station outside the fleet. Sir, we appear to be cut off from the rest of the galaxy. Keth felt cold fear spreading through him. This was not natural. This was not random. The humans, he said quietly. The humans did this somehow. But there was no one to hear his realization except his own crew, who were just as trapped as he was. At Harmony Prime, the news reached the Council within hours. 2 fleets now, over 2,000 ships, all vanished without a trace. The chamber fell into shocked silence. Species that had been ready for war now looked at each other with growing fear. The Vorians pulsed with rapid light patterns, their equivalent of alarm. Victoria stood in the speaking area. We warned you, she said simply. We asked you not to send your fleets. You sent them anyway. We did not want this, but we will defend ourselves. What have you done? The Keltharian ambassador demanded. He was not military, just a civilian diplomat, and his voice shook. "Where are our people?" "Safe," Victoria answered. "Alive and unharmed. They are simply somewhere you cannot reach them, and they will stay there until you agree to peace." "This is an act of war." "No. Your invasion fleets were acts of war. This is defense. There is a difference." Cross of the Drax Empire rose to his feet, his massive form towering over the other representatives. "If the humans have some kind of weapon, we will find a counter. The Drax do not frighten easily." "Then do not send more ships," Victoria said. "We have been clear. We want only to be left alone. Stop attacking us, and there will be no more disappearances." But pride and fear were making decisions now, not logic. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so crowded. Leaders from every major species arrived personally instead of sending representatives. The Keltharian Emperor himself attended, breaking centuries of tradition. Fear had accomplished what diplomacy never could. The Emperor's voice carried across the chamber. 2,000 warships. Gone. Not destroyed, not defeated in battle, simply erased from existence. Every species here should be concerned. If humans can do this to us, they can do it to anyone. The Vorian observer designated Prime moved to the speaking area. Its crystalline body caught the light and scattered it in precise patterns. "We propose a scientific investigation. A neutral team, unarmed, permitted to enter human space and examine the disappearance sites. We need to understand what happened." Cross of the Drax Empire growled his objection. "Why should we ask permission? We should send our remaining fleets and force answers from them." "You just lost 1,100 ships doing exactly that," Prime replied calmly. "Perhaps a different approach is warranted." The Selkine ambassador, speaking from her water-filled sphere, added her support. "Prime is correct. We need information, not more missing vessels. Let us try cooperation before we attempt more confrontation." Ambassador Victoria had been waiting for this. "Earth will permit an investigation team. However, there are conditions. The team must be unarmed. They must respect our territorial boundaries. And they must accept that we are doing this as a gesture of goodwill, not from any obligation." The Keltharian Emperor wanted to refuse on principle alone, but his military advisors had been clear. The Empire had lost too many ships already. They needed to know what they were facing. "Agreed," the Emperor said, though the word seemed to cause him physical pain. 3 days later, the investigation team assembled. Prime led the group, bringing advanced Vorian sensor equipment. A Selkine navigator named Current joined them, along with a Drax engineer called Forge. The team boarded a small research vessel, carefully checked to ensure no weapons were hidden aboard. Commander Ben Taylor met them at the border of human space. His ship, the Defender-class cruiser Steadfast, was much larger than the research vessel, but kept its weapons powered down as promised. Ben was a career military officer, calm and professional. He greeted the investigation team with courtesy. "Welcome to human space. I'll be your guide. We'll visit the locations where both fleets vanished, then I'm authorized to show you one of our installations." Prime's crystalline structure pulsed with blue light, a sign of appreciation. "You are willing to reveal your technology?" "Parts of it," Ben replied. "Enough for you to understand what you're dealing with. We're not trying to be mysterious. We just want you to know that attacking us is pointless." The journey to the first disappearance site took 2 days. Prime spent the time scanning human space with every sensor available. The readings were fascinating. Faint quantum signatures appeared throughout the region, but they were so subtle that normal sensors would miss them entirely. When they reached the location where Admiral Zareth's fleet had vanished, Prime deployed specialized equipment. For hours, the Vorian scientist analyzed the space, searching for any trace of what had happened. Current, the Selkine navigator, monitored the results from her water tank. "Anything?" she asked. "Yes," Prime said. "Quantum residue, very sophisticated. This was not a weapon in the traditional sense." The space here was altered temporarily. Matter was pushed somewhere else. Forge, the Drax engineer, studied his own readings. Pushed where? There is no debris, no energy discharge. Where did the ships go? That is the question, Prime agreed. The signature suggests dimensional displacement. The ships were moved out of normal space into some kind of pocket dimension. Ben Taylor listened to this analysis without confirming or denying anything. His orders were clear. Let them figure it out on their own as much as possible. They visited the second disappearance site next. The readings were identical. Precise quantum signatures indicating controlled dimensional displacement. Prime's structure pulsed with orange light now, a sign of concern. This level of quantum manipulation, Prime said to Ben, it should not be possible. Our species has studied quantum mechanics for thousands of years. We cannot do what these readings suggest you have done. Maybe you were looking at it from the wrong angle, Ben replied. Sometimes a younger species sees solutions that older ones miss because we don't know what's supposed to be impossible. After examining both sites, Ben set course for the Kuiper Belt region of Earth's home system. Deep among the ice and rock on a large asteroid designated KB-247 sat Lighthouse Installation 12. The facility was impressive even from a distance. Massive towers rose from the asteroid's surface, each one humming with barely contained energy. The towers formed a geometric pattern, connected by streams of quantum particles visible only on specialized sensors. Prime's entire structure lit up with rapidly shifting colors. Remarkable, the Vorian breathed. This is a quantum field generator, but the scale? We have nothing like this. They docked at the facility's small station. Dr. Amanda Chen met them there. She was a physicist in her 40s, one of the lead scientists on Project Lighthouse. Her manner was friendly, but professional. "Welcome to Lighthouse 12, she said. "I'm authorized to explain the basics of how this works. Please, follow me." She led them through the facility's control center. Holographic displays showed the quantum field patterns extending out from the installation. Prime studied them with intense focus. "These installations," Amanda began, "generate quantum displacement fields. When activated, they create a controlled pocket dimension and push matter into it. The pocket exists outside normal space-time. Ships trapped there experience relatively normal conditions, but they cannot navigate or communicate with our dimension." "How many of these installations do you have?" Forge asked bluntly. 200, Amanda answered, "positioned throughout all of human territory. They can create overlapping fields that cover any approach to our worlds. Any fleet trying to attack would be displaced before they could reach their targets." Current swam in agitated circles in her sphere. "The crews on the displaced ships, are they alive?" "Yes. The pockets maintain breathable atmosphere and normal gravity. The ship's life support systems function normally. The crews are perfectly safe. They just cannot leave without precise quantum coordinates that only we have." Prime moved closer to the main display. "Why build this? Why not simply develop better weapons?" Amanda's expression became serious. "Because we didn't want to kill anyone. Look, we knew we were outnumbered. We knew if it came to war, thousands would die on both sides. This way, we defend ourselves without the killing. Your people are safe. They're just stuck until we let them out." "You hold 2,000 people hostage," Forge growled. "We hold 2,000 people who tried to invade our space," Ben corrected. "There's a difference. They attacked. We defended. And we did it in the most humane way possible." Prime was silent for a long moment, processing this. Finally, the Vorian spoke. "I need to understand the displacement process completely. Can you show me the technical specifications?" Amanda hesitated, then shook her head. "No. I can explain the theory, but the actual specifications are classified. We'll defend ourselves, but we won't hand over the keys to our defense." The investigation team spent 3 more days at the installation, learning what they were permitted to learn. Prime filled entire data storage units with sensor readings and theoretical analysis. Forge examined the power generation systems, impressed despite himself. Current studied the navigation implications. Before they left, Ben took Prime aside. "You understand what this means, right? Your fleets can't reach us. Not with conventional approaches. Every ship you send will end up in a quantum pocket." "I understand," Prime said. "The question is whether the Council will accept this reality or continue trying to overcome it through force." When the investigation team returned to Harmony Prime, they presented their findings to the full Council. Prime's report was thorough and precise. "The humans have developed quantum displacement technology far beyond anything we possess," Prime concluded. "The 2,000 missing ships are trapped in pocket dimensions, alive but unreachable. The network of installations can defend all human territory simultaneously. Any conventional attack will fail." The council chamber erupted in angry voices. Species demanded action, revenge, solutions. But beneath the anger was fear. Humanity had revealed a power that made them effectively untouchable. The Keltharian Emperor stood, his 4 arms spread wide. "Then we will find a way to counter this technology. We will develop our own quantum weapons. This is not over." Ambassador Victoria rose to respond. "You could try, but quantum displacement takes years to develop and decades to perfect. We've been working on this for 15 years. How long will you spend? And while you're researching, what happens to the 2,000 people currently trapped? Do you abandon them?" That question cut through the anger like a blade. Families wanted their loved ones back. Governments wanted their ships returned. Pride demanded continued resistance. But practicality suggested a different path. Prime spoke again. "The humans have offered a simple solution. Recognize their sovereignty. Stop attacking them. They return your people and ships. It is logical." Cross slammed his massive fist down. "It is surrender." "It is reality," Prime countered. "They defeated 2 invasion fleets without firing a shot. How many more ships must vanish before you accept that this approach will not work?" The debate raged for hours, but even as they argued, more species were mobilizing their fleets. Pride would not allow them to simply accept defeat. The galaxy was moving toward a massive confrontation, and in human space, Jake Stevens watched the fleet movements. The gathering of fleets was visible from halfway across the galaxy. 8 major species had committed their full military strength to the campaign. The Keltharian Emperor had convinced them all that humanity must be crushed, that allowing this upstart species to defy the established order would encourage chaos throughout known space. Over 8,000 warships assembled at Rally Point Triumph, a neutral star system chosen for its strategic position. The site was unprecedented in galactic history. Keltharian dreadnoughts formed the core, massive ships bristling with weapons. Drax heavy cruisers added their firepower. Vorian energy projectors provided long-range capability. Selkeen fast attack ships would screen the advance. 4 other species contributed their own unique vessels. The Keltharian Emperor appointed a new supreme commander, Admiral Vexus, to lead the Armada. Vexus was a veteran of 100 campaigns, ruthless and efficient. He stood on the bridge of the Super Dreadnought Domination, the largest warship ever built, and surveyed his fleet with satisfaction. "We have gathered the might of 8 civilizations," Vexus announced to his command staff. "The humans have their displacement technology, but can they displace 8,000 ships at once? Can their network handle that much mass? We will overwhelm their defenses through sheer numbers." The battle plan was complex and coordinated. The Armada would split into 12 separate attack groups. Each group would strike a different human colony simultaneously, approaching from different vectors at different times. The humans would have to activate their entire network at once, spreading their resources thin. "If their system is overtaxed," Vexus explained, "ships will get through. Once even one colony falls, we demonstrate that they are not invincible. Their mystique will shatter. On Earth, Jake Stevens watched the fleet movements with growing concern. The scale was larger than any simulation they had run. President Morrison stood beside him in the command center, along with Nicole Hayes and a full staff of military advisors. 12 attack groups, Jake said, highlighting the formations on his display. They're hitting us from every direction at once. Smart. They're trying to overwhelm the network. Will it work? Morrison asked. No, sir. We designed Lighthouse to handle exactly this scenario, but it will push the system to its limits. Every installation will need to activate simultaneously for the first time. There's always risk with untested operations at full scale. Nicole Hayes studied the timeline. They'll reach our borders in 6 hours. All groups will be in position within a 12-hour window. Morrison made his decision. Activate the full network. All installations on standby. The moment the first attack group enters our space, we light them all up. Across human territory, 200 Lighthouse installations received the activation order. Commander Lisa Park at Station 7 prepared her systems alongside the other station commanders. They had drilled for this, but drills were different from reality. All stations report ready status, Lisa reported. Network synchronization at 100%. We're good to go, sir. Jake took a deep breath. Then we wait for them to make their move. The first attack group crossed into human space exactly on schedule. 400 Keltharian ships advancing on the colony of New Seattle. Their sensors swept ahead, searching for any signs of the displacement technology. Quantum signatures detected, the Keltharian group commander reported. Similar to previous encounters, all ships maintain formation and advance. At Lighthouse Command, Jake watched the group enter the grid. Group 1 is in the net. Stations 5, 6, and 7 prepare to engage. The second group entered from a different vector, then the third. Within 3 hours, all 12 groups were inside human territory, approaching their targets from different directions. All groups in position, Jake announced. Sir, your order? President Morrison looked at the display showing over 8,000 hostile ships in human space. This was the moment. Whatever happened next would define humanity's place in the galaxy for generations. Activate Lighthouse. All stations. Full displacement. Jake's fingers moved across his controls. All stations. Execute displacement protocol. Authorization code Morrison Alpha 7. Engage now. Throughout human space, 200 quantum field generators activated in perfect synchronization. The installations had been built for this exact purpose, positioned with mathematical precision to create overlapping fields that covered every approach to human worlds. The quantum displacement fields deployed in complete silence. No dramatic light shows, no explosive effects, just a fundamental alteration of space-time itself across light years of territory. Admiral Vexus was reviewing tactical reports when his instruments went haywire. One moment, his fleet of 700 ships was approaching the human colony of New Boston. The next moment, space looked wrong, twisted. The stars were there but distorted, as if seen through warped glass. "Report!" he demanded. His science officer's voice was shaking. "Admiral, we appear to have been displaced into some kind of pocket dimension. Navigation is impossible. Jump drives will not activate. Communications with the other groups have been severed." "What about the colony? Can we still reach our target?" "Sir, we cannot navigate at all. Our engines function, but any course we plot leads nowhere. We are trapped." The same scene played out across all 12 attack groups. Over 8,000 ships, representing 8 different species and the combined military might of most of the known galaxy, simply vanished from normal space in the span of 6 hours. At Rally Point Triumph, the support staff waited for victory reports. Instead, they received silence. Message after message went unanswered. Emergency protocols activated. Courier ships rushed to investigate. They found nothing. Empty space where the Armada should have been. No debris, no energy signatures, no trace that the largest fleet in history had ever existed. The news reached the Galactic Council within a day. The chamber fell into shocked silence that lasted nearly a full minute. The implications were staggering. Humanity had just effectively disarmed most of the major powers in the galaxy in a single, coordinated action. The Keltharian Emperor stared at the empty display showing where his fleet should have been. 70% of his empire's total military strength was gone. Not destroyed, just gone. The Drax homeworld received similar reports. The Vorians, despite having urged caution, had still committed their forces. The Selkine, 4 other major species. All had lost the majority of their military capability in one day. Younger species, those who had not committed forces to the invasion, watched with barely concealed interest. The power balance of the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. Opportunities for advancement suddenly appeared where none had existed before. Political chaos erupted across council territories. Governments fell. New leaders emerged. Fear and confusion spread like wildfire. Ambassador Victoria requested an emergency session of the Galactic Council. When the chamber assembled, she walked to the speaking area with quiet confidence. "People of the Galactic Council," she began, "over 10,000 of your ships are now in quantum displacement. Over 100,000 of your citizens are trapped in pocket dimensions. They are all alive. They are all safe. Their life support systems function normally. They can survive there indefinitely." She paused, letting that sink in. "Earth did not want this. We warned you repeatedly. We asked only to be left alone. You chose invasion instead. What happened is the direct result of your choices, not ours." The Keltharian Emperor rose to his feet, his 4 arms trembling with rage and fear. "You hold our people hostage. This is the act of monsters, not civilized beings." "No," Victoria replied calmly. "Your people tried to invade our worlds. We defended ourselves without killing anyone. If we were monsters, those 10,000 ships would be debris fields. Instead, every single person you sent is alive and will remain alive as long as we choose to keep them that way." Cross of the Drax stood as well. "What do you want? Tribute? Territory? Name your price for their return." Victoria shook her head. "We want what we have always wanted. Recognition of our sovereignty. A formal peace treaty, guaranteeing our independence. And reparations for the cost of this conflict that you forced upon us." "Reparations!" The Keltharian Emperor's mandibles clicked in fury. "You want us to pay you for defeating us?" "Yes. Wars have costs. You started this one. You should help pay for it. The reparations will be reasonable. We are not trying to cripple your economies. We are establishing a principle. Attacking Earth has consequences." Prime, the Vorian observer, pulsed with colors indicating careful thought. "And if we refuse your terms, what then?" "Then your people stay where they are," Victoria said simply. "Permanently. We can maintain the displacement fields indefinitely." "Your choice is simple. Accept our terms and get your people back, or refuse and abandon them forever." The council erupted into arguments. Some demanded continued resistance. Others pleaded for the return of their people. Family members of displaced crew contacted their governments begging for action. The Keltharian Emperor wanted to refuse on principle, but his advisors were blunt. The Empire had almost no military left. They were vulnerable to attack from rivals. They needed those ships back. Prime spoke into the chaos. "Ambassador Grant, you say the crews are alive. Can you provide proof?" Victoria nodded. "We can return 1 ship from each attack group. 12 ships total. They can report on conditions in the displacement zones. That should verify we are telling the truth." The proposal was accepted. Over the next day, 12 ships were carefully extracted from the quantum pockets and returned to normal space. Their crews were debriefed immediately. The reports were consistent. The displacement zones appeared as normal space, but navigation was impossible. The ships functioned, but could not travel anywhere. Communication with the outside was blocked. Time passed normally. Life support worked perfectly. The crews were healthy, but completely helpless. One Keltharian captain described it clearly. "We are in a prison made of space itself. We have everything we need to live, but we are utterly at the mercy of the humans. If they choose to leave us here, we will spend the rest of our lives trapped in this void." The testimony changed the mood in the council chamber. This was not a bluff. The humans genuinely held all the cards. Every displaced ship could be returned safely, but only if humanity chose to do so. The moderate political factions in each species began gaining power. They pointed out the obvious. The humans had won, completely. Continuing to resist would accomplish nothing except condemning over 100,000 people to permanent imprisonment. 1 week after the Great Displacement, as it was already being called, the Galactic Council voted to accept Earth's terms in principle. Negotiators would work out the specific details, but the core demands would be met. Ambassador Victoria stood in the council chamber and allowed herself a small smile. "Thank you. We look forward to peaceful relations with all of you. The negotiation teams can begin tomorrow." As she left the chamber, Prime approached her. "Your species fought an entire war without firing a shot, without killing a single being. That is remarkable." The peace conference convened on neutral ground, a diplomatic station called Unity Hall that orbited a star equidistant from Earth and the major council worlds. The negotiations took 3 weeks, but they were surprisingly civil. Fear made everyone reasonable. Ambassador Victoria led the human delegation, supported by President Morrison, who attended personally for the signing ceremony. Nicole Hayes came as well, representing Earth's military interests. The other side fielded representatives from all 8 species who had participated in the invasion. The core terms were simple. The Galactic Council formally recognized Earth and all human colonies as sovereign territory. No species could claim jurisdiction over human space or attempt to impose external governance. Humanity would have full membership in the Council with all associated rights and protections. The reparations were set at levels designed to be meaningful but not crippling. Each participating species would pay based on how many ships they had contributed to the invasion. The funds would go toward building peaceful infrastructure and establishing cultural exchange programs. Most importantly, the treaty included a mutual non-aggression pact. Humanity agreed not to use displacement technology offensively against any Council species. In return, the Council species agreed never to threaten human territory again. "This is a fair agreement," Prime stated during the final session. "Both sides gain security. Both sides acknowledge the other's sovereignty. This is how peace should be made." The Keltharian representative was a civilian diplomat named Keyleth, appointed after the Emperor's government collapsed under the weight of military failure. He signed the treaty with visible reluctance, but signed nonetheless. "Our people want their families back," Keyleth said simply. "That matters more than pride." When all the signatures were collected, President Morrison made a brief statement. "This treaty proves that strength and wisdom can coexist. We defended ourselves when we had to. Now we choose peace because we can. We hope this marks the beginning of genuine cooperation between our species." The actual return of the displaced fleets was a massive logistical operation. Commander Jake Stevens coordinated the effort from Earth, working with Lighthouse Station commanders across human space. "We're going to do this gradually," Jake explained to the Council liaison officers. 20 ships per day from each displacement zone. That gives us time to verify everyone is healthy and allows your governments to process the returning crews properly. The first ships emerged from quantum displacement after 63 days of imprisonment. The crews were physically fine but psychologically shaken. Being trapped in a space where nothing worked, where you could see stars but not reach them, left deep impressions. A Drax captain named Grant was among the first returned. He gave a statement to his government. "The humans could have killed us all. They had us completely at their mercy. Instead, they kept us safe and returned us unharmed." I will never forget that mercy. Over the next 2 months, ships emerged steadily from the quantum pockets. Each crew underwent medical checks and debriefing. Not a single casualty was recorded. Every ship that had been displaced returned intact with its full crew alive and healthy. The logistics were staggering. Over 10,000 ships, over 100,000 personnel, all processed, checked, and returned to their home territories. Earth provided medical teams and counselors to help with the transition. High Admiral Vexus, who had commanded the Great Armada, was among the last to be returned. He was immediately arrested by the new Keltharian government and charged with catastrophic military failure. But during his trial, he made a statement that surprised everyone. "I underestimated the humans," Vexus said. "We all did. But I learned something in that displacement zone. The humans could have left us there forever. They could have killed us when we were helpless. They did neither. They defended themselves perfectly, then showed mercy. That is not weakness. That is a kind of strength we never understood." The trial resulted in life imprisonment rather than execution, partly because Ambassador Victoria intervened on Vexus's behalf, arguing that mercy should continue even toward those who had shown none. Back on Earth, changes were happening rapidly. The Lighthouse Network, having proven its effectiveness, underwent expansion, not for military purposes, but for civilian applications. Dr. Amanda Chen led a team adapting the displacement technology for rescue operations. "We can create temporary displacement fields to save ships in distress," Amanda explained at a scientific conference. "Pull them out of dangerous situations into safe pocket dimensions, then return them once the danger passes. This technology can save lives across the galaxy." The Vorians were the first to request scientific cooperation. Prime personally visited Earth to meet with Amanda and her research team. "Your approach to quantum mechanics is revolutionary," Prime said, its crystalline structure pulsing with enthusiastic green light. "We would like to establish an exchange program. Our scientists can learn from yours, and perhaps we can contribute insights from our own research traditions." Amanda agreed eagerly. "Science advances faster when we share knowledge. We'd be honored to work with you." Cultural exchanges followed. Human students traveled to Vorian crystal gardens and Selkine underwater cities. Alien students came to Earth experiencing human diversity for the first time. The University of New Geneva established the first interspecies research campus. Trade agreements opened up. Human agricultural techniques proved valuable on several alien worlds. In return, Earth gained access to advanced medical knowledge and material science from species who had been developing technology for thousands of years longer. Commander Ben Taylor received a new assignment heading the Lighthouse Defense Force, but the mission had changed from pure military defense to something more comprehensive. "We're not just protecting Earth anymore," Ben explained to his new recruits. "We're maintaining the network that keeps peace in this region of space. We're also providing rescue services to anyone who needs them, regardless of species. The Lighthouse Network has become a tool for saving lives, not just defending territory." The first test came 6 months after the peace treaty, when a Drax colony ship suffered catastrophic engine failure near a dangerous radiation zone. The ship sent out a distress call, and Ben's team responded immediately. "Deploying temporary displacement field around the Drax vessel," Ben ordered. "Pull them into safe space, then we'll tow them to the nearest repair facility." The operation worked perfectly. The Drax ship and its 3,000 colonists were saved. The Drax government sent formal thanks to Earth, and the incident made headlines across the galaxy. "The humans who defeated our fleets now save our people," the Drax news networks reported. Perhaps we judged them too quickly. Political changes continued to ripple through the galaxy. The Keltharian Empire transitioned to a reformed constitutional monarchy. The Emperor's powers were limited, and a representative council gained real authority. The new government made peace with several species they had been in conflict with for decades. Other species followed similar paths. The near-total military defeat had broken the power of hardline factions across multiple governments. Moderate leaders rose to fill the vacuum, and they proved more interested in cooperation than conquest. 1 year after the Great Displacement, Ambassador Victoria retired from diplomatic service. She had spent 15 years representing Earth in increasingly dangerous situations, and she was tired. President Morrison held a ceremony honoring her service. "Victoria faced down entire alien armadas with nothing but words and courage," Morrison said. "She warned them, gave them every chance to choose peace, and when they wouldn't listen, she stood firm while we defended ourselves. Earth owes her a debt we can never fully repay." Victoria's retirement speech was short. "I didn't do this alone. Every human who worked on Project Lighthouse, every diplomat who supported peaceful solutions, every citizen who stayed calm during the crisis, all of you made this possible. We proved that a species can be strong without being cruel. That's something to be proud of." She moved to a quiet colony world and wrote a book about the crisis, which became required reading in diplomatic academies across the galaxy. Commander Jake Stevens continued overseeing the Lighthouse network. New installations were built in cooperation with allied species, extending the protective umbrella beyond just human space. The network became a shared resource for maintaining peace. "We built this to defend ourselves," Jake said in an interview, "but it's become something bigger. It's a foundation for security that benefits everyone. That's better than we initially hoped for." Dr. Amanda Chen's research team made breakthrough after breakthrough in quantum applications. Working with Vorian scientists, they developed new communication methods, improved jump drive technology, and created medical scanning devices that could detect diseases at the quantum level. "This is what cooperation achieves," Amanda said at a joint press conference with Prime. "Alone, we were strong. Together, we're advancing knowledge faster than either of us could have managed separately." The Galactic Council underwent reforms of its own. Younger species gained more representation. The old power structures, already weakened by military defeat, gave way to more democratic processes. Earth played a major role in shaping these reforms. "We don't want to dominate the Council," President Morrison explained. "We just want a fair voice and genuine respect. That's all we ever wanted." 2 years after the crisis, memorial services were held for the displaced crews. Even though no one had died, the experience of displacement left marks. Support groups formed for veterans of the quantum prisons. Human psychologists worked with alien colleagues to help people process their experiences. At one memorial service on the Keltharian homeworld, a young officer named Threx spoke about his time in displacement. "I spent 40 days in that void, thinking I would never see my family again. When the humans finally returned us, I expected to hate them. Instead, I felt grateful. They had every right to leave us there. They chose mercy instead. I will never forget that." On Earth, at the original Lighthouse Command Center, a permanent exhibit opened to the public. It showed the development of the displacement technology, the crisis timeline, and testimonies from both human and alien participants. The final display was a simple quote from President Morrison's first address after the peace treaty. "We warned them. They didn't listen. But when we won, we chose to be the kind of species we want to be, not the kind our enemies expected. That choice defines us more than the victory itself." 3 years after the Great Displacement, the galaxy had settled into a new normal. Trade flourished between species who had recently been enemies. Scientific cooperation produced innovations that benefited everyone. The lighthouse network stood ready but unused for military purposes, instead serving as a rescue service and navigation aid. Commander Lisa Park, still stationed at Lighthouse 7, monitored the quiet space around her installation. No fleets approaching, no threats emerging, just peaceful traffic and the occasional research vessel. "Boring duty," her second-in-command commented. Lisa smiled. "Boring is good. Boring means peace. We built this to fight a war. I'm happy we get to use it for better things now." Ambassador Victoria, in her retirement, received a message from Prime. The Vorian wanted to visit and discuss the historical significance of the crisis. "What interests me," Prime said when they met, "is that you won without violence. You displaced over 10,000 ships and never fired a shot. You could have destroyed those fleets easily once they were trapped. Instead, you kept them safe." Why? Victoria thought about the question. Because being able to destroy someone and choosing not to is real power. We wanted the galaxy to know we're strong enough to defend ourselves, but wise enough to show mercy. That's the reputation we wanted to build. "And you succeeded," Prime said. "Every species now knows that attacking Earth is pointless and that humanity can be trusted to keep its word. You have achieved something remarkable." 5 years after the crisis, Earth celebrated the anniversary of the peace treaty. Delegations from all the major species attended. Former enemies toasted each other's health. Young people who had grown up during the peace couldn't imagine a time when Earth was under threat. President Morrison, now in his final year in office, reflected on the changes. "We started as newcomers, dismissed and underestimated. We became defenders, protecting ourselves when we had to. Now we're partners, building something better than any of us could have created alone. That's the journey I'm proudest of." The lighthouse installations across human space stood silent, their lights dimmed but always ready. 200 stations monitoring the peace, capable of defending it if necessary, but hoping they would never need to. On the bridge of the Steadfast, Commander Ben Taylor looked at the stars through the viewport. Alien ships passed peacefully through human space, their transponders broadcasting friendly signals. Trade vessels, research ships, tourist transports. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a distress signal from a Selkine ship. Engine failure near the Kuiper Belt." Ben smiled. "This is what we do now. Set course to intercept. Prepare to deploy a rescue field. Let's go save some lives." The Steadfast turned toward the distressed vessel, its lighthouse generators warming up not for war, but for rescue. This was the galaxy humanity had fought for. A galaxy where strength protected instead of threatened, where mercy wasn't weakness but wisdom. And in the dark spaces between the stars, the quantum fields of the lighthouse network pulsed with quiet energy, standing watch over a peace that had been won without a single shot fired or a single life taken. The humans had warned them. The galaxy had learned to listen. "We did what we had to do," Victoria replied, "but we did it in the most humane way we could. Isn't that what civilization is supposed to be about?" Prime pulsed with thoughtful blue light. "Perhaps. Your people have taught the galaxy a new kind of lesson today." Back on Earth, President Morrison addressed his planet. "The war is over. We won. And we did it our way. No massacres, no destruction. Just the clear demonstration that we will defend ourselves and that attacking us is pointless. Now comes the harder part, building real peace." The displaced fleets remained in their quantum prisons, waiting. Their fate now depended on negotiations. But for the first time since the crisis began, there was hope for their return. On his displays, he turned to President Morrison with a grim expression. "Sir, they're gathering everything they have. 8 major species are committing their full military strength. We're looking at over 8,000 ships preparing to attack simultaneously." Morrison was quiet for a long moment. Then he asked, "Can we handle that many?" "Yes, sir. The network was designed for this exact scenario, but it will be the largest displacement in history. Every installation will activate at once." "Then prepare for it," Morrison ordered, "and pray they come to their senses before it's too late." But prayers rarely stopped wars once pride and fear took control. The galaxy was about to learn its hardest lesson yet. Olvid into arguments and accusations. More species pledged ships to punish humanity. War fever spread like a disease. Victoria returned to Earth with a heavy heart. "They're not going to stop," she told President Morrison. "They're going to send everything they have." Morrison looked at Jake Stevens. "Can the network handle that many ships?" "Yes, sir. We designed it for exactly this scenario. Let them send every ship they have. We'll displace them all, and maybe then they'll believe we're serious about peace." But Morrison knew the truth. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson, and humanity, once again, would be the ones teaching it. High Admiral Zareth stood on the Bridge of Conquest, watching the stars through the massive viewport. Around him, his officers moved with practiced efficiency. The fleet was ready. In 2 days, they would jump to human space and begin the invasion. "They will learn," Zareth said to his second-in-command. "Every species learns eventually. The strong rule and the weak submit. It is the way of the galaxy." His second-in-command clicked his mandibles in agreement. "Should we expect any resistance, Admiral?" Zareth made a dismissive gesture. "Nothing we cannot crush. They have ships, but what are hundreds against thousands? This will be over quickly." He did not know that human eyes were already watching, that quantum generators were already locked onto his fleet's position, that countdown timers were already running. The Keltharians had been warned. They had laughed. Soon they would understand exactly what that warning had meant.